In this lesson, we're going to talk about how to create a text file from Java, write information into the text file, read information from a text file, into another one, lots of different things that we're going to work on here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a file and put some information in it. We're going to make a new file writer. Let's call it FW, so it's short and reminds us that this is the file writer. And it will make a new file. If I don't specify where exactly on the computer I want it, then it will just place it in the same folder as my project. So that's going to write the file, and to be able to get text into that file that we want to make, new print writer, I'm going to say PW, so I remember it's my print writer, and it will be a new print writer, and it's going to go to the file FW. So right now I don't have anything really going on. I'm just making a print writer, I'm making a file, and at the end we're going to want to close it. Print writer dot close, so it can finish everything up. There's one small error here. It just knows that we need to throw the IO exception, so we can just add a try catch here. So we're going to try the code, and if it causes any issues, we're going to catch the IO exception. Let's call it E. I usually call exceptions E. And then let's just print something out. So if there's an issue, file issues. So far all our code should do is create this text file, and if there's any issues creating the text file, it will print this. So currently I do not have in my folders, this is my folder, I don't have any text files. After running this, I should get a text file. Okay, it's not going to create the text file yet because we didn't write anything to the text file. So let's add something into the text file. Let's printWriter.print, and let's say hello world. So it is here. I missed it before. I probably created it before we added the text, and I just was on the wrong level. I was looking in the folder with the Java files when I needed to look in the project folder. So here it is, hello world, and say we wanted to put more stuff into it. If I change what I write, and I write hello world, goodbye, let's just replace it with goodbye. And I run this again. Inside the text file, it actually just says goodbye now. It didn't save the text that we had before. But if we do want to add to previous text instead of erasing previous text, if we just say true, now when we run it, it should have goodbye and then goodbye. So kind of plain, but it should show us that it has the first thing we wrote, the second thing we wrote. Okay. So there are a lot of different methods that you can use. If you go to the Oracle website, and if you research a little bit more about all these classes that we are calling on here, we're calling We can see all of the different methods that we can be calling on with the FileWriter and the PrintWriter. So here at the PrintWriter we made a modification. Actually, the modification we made was to FileWriter, where we put comma true. So when we made a new FileWriter, we did FileWriter comma true. And we can see here constructs a FileWriter object given a file object, and the Boolean append means if it's true, add to what's there before. If it's false, don't add to what's there before, write over it. And here's just creating the FileWriter with the file object passed in, and it doesn't say anything about whether or not it appends, but we can see that it doesn't append, it just replaces. Okay, so this is how we can create a file in Java and write to that file. Now if I wanted to create a file somewhere other than in this project, I could put in the complete file path to tell the computer how to get to it, like C drive / username / documents / if I give the whole file path, it will place it in another location. But for simplicity, I'm just going to work within the same project here. Our next step is going to be to read from a file. So right now we were writing to the file, so let's just put write to file. Let's do read from file. So it's similar but a little bit different. Instead of a file writer, we need to create a file reader object. So file reader, let's call it FR, just keep going with the same short forms. New file reader. Where are we going to read from? Why don't we just read from that same example text that we already have? I can make another file, but it's already there. So it's going to read from example text. Now, the way that it's going to grab that, the way it's going to read from it is we're going to make a buffer reader. I'll call it BR. New buffer reader, and we have to reference the file reader. Oops. Okay, one typo, buffered reader. Okay, so we have a new buffered reader. We're going to be able to read from the file object that's reading example text. And now let's see what it will read. So let's do buffered reader dot. We have a lot of options here, a lot of reading options. There were even more a moment ago. We can just read. We can read line. So let's read the whole line. Now, it's going to read it, and it's not doing anything with it. We're not even going to know if anything's happening. So how about we just put it in a print statement to print in the console so we actually know what it manages to read. And obviously I've made a mistake here, and I put it in quotes, turning it into a string. There we go. So I'm going to read a line from BR. Goodbye, goodbye. So that's what we had in our text file example text that we're reading. We can make some modifications there. So it was goodbye, goodbye. How about we change it to hello? How are you? Good, thanks. Goodbye. Okay. Control Save. I'm going to close it, and now let's read that. So we're going to read from the text file. Notice I commented out the print writer. It's already printed to the file. I don't need to print to it again. Hello, how are you? Oh, where's the rest of our file? Well, just like the next line that we used previously, the read line is just going to read up until a carriage return or like an enter or a next line, and then it's going to stop. So if we want to continue to run through this and print it out many times, then we would want to maybe save it as a string and read the next line, read the next line, read the next line till it's empty, and that might keep going until it becomes null. If null basically is a type of 0, it's a type of emptiness, so when there's nothing there, it can be null. So let's make a string, str, and we're going to initialize it to read our line, and while it's not null, then we'll print out the string. So it's already been assigned. And we assigned what we are reading to str. We want to print out str. So this is a good start, but it's not done yet. If we run this again, it is continuing forever. Maybe it'll crash eventually, but it runs too many times. Okay. So because we assigned it at the beginning, and then our loop is constantly checking, is the string not null? It's not. Let's print it. Is the string not null? It's not. Let's print it. It never actually goes to the next line, so we want to, again, assign. I want to read the next line and assign it, and now it's just reading out our whole file. It read the first line, it checked if it wasn't null, it's not null, it prints it out, reassigns the second line, repeats the loop. So it's going to go through the loop those 3 times till it's null. And so right now we're just reading to our console, but if we actually wanted to create another text file and put this information in it, we can. So why don't we, so next we're not just going to print to the console, we're going to print to a new text file. So I have a new file here called newfile.txt. You can make a new file by right-clicking, new, choose text file, and type the name. It's currently empty. And so I'd like to take all the stuff that we're printing into the console, and instead I'd like to print it to that new file. So I'm going to need to create another file. Now we already have the file written, so parts of this can be taken away. So I'm going to keep the appending. Okay, we already have a FileWriter, FW, so let's make it FW2, PW2, and now we're going to print out to PW2 dot print out that string. So we do let's check, and nothing's there. Nothing's there because I didn't close the print writer. And now we can see that our example file was read from, trying to show both things, was read from the example text file and printed to the new text file. And we're done. You can do things like, suppose you had to convert things. Maybe you have a text file and it's a series of people's names, but the formatting's incorrect and you need to rewrite it with proper formatting. So you could use this opportunity if there were commas between people's names. Maybe you could remove the commas. If you needed to add numbers onto the ends of their names, this is a place where it can be done. So it's a really useful tool to be able to adjust data that you might have, especially large amounts of data, without having to manually go through a file and change it yourself. You can just write code that will read it, change it, and rewrite it into a new file. Or maybe just work within the file you have and rewrite the information into it. Lots of different ways that you could kind of work through this. And if you want to learn more, you can go to the Oracle website and look up each of these classes here that we're using and learn more about them. There's lots of information about all these objects, all their methods,